Hello, my name is Harry Davis, and I'd like to welcome you to this 8th video in the series, Learning the Ways of the Wonderful Counselor. Today, our focus will be on Jesus ministering to a man who was struggling against the worries of the world. But before we get into the actual account, I want to share this. Last week, I was substitute teaching in a local high school, and the class was psychology. And I told the students that I was a practitioner of what they're studying, and that I ran drug and alcohol treatment programs for 31 years. I was surprised at the end of the class, a student came up to me and asked me, he said, "What was the hardest part about your job?" And I stood there. My head was spinning, and I'm thinking, well, addiction itself is a powerful force. That's hard. And then I thought, well, most people who have addiction problems have some behavioral unmanageability and attitude problems, and many aren't very motivated initially for recovery. And then I thought some more, and the real answer came. And I said to him the hardest part was maintaining a culture in the treatment program that was conducive to recovery, that battling the culture of addiction and the negative attitudes and behavior of the patients who are in treatment for the wrong reason was the biggest challenge. We ran a therapeutic community model, and in that model we refer to it as milieu therapy, which is that we make interventions to the community and the environment so that the community itself is an agent of recovery. And it was a constant issue of mitigating the effects, the negative effects of the culture of addiction and the behavior and attitudes of other patients who are undermining other patients' attempt at trying to find recovery. Why I said that is because we're going to see Jesus managing the milieu around an individual named Jairus. And the milieu he was trying to create around him is a milieu of faith. And we're going to see him almost like a spiritual bouncer and coach. But before we get into the account, I just want to talk about the worries of the world. Man, they're as numerous as there are situations in life. And even more, I think it was Mark Twain who said this: the problems I have seen and the troubles I have seen, and only half of them really happen. And whoever said it, but I don't know if it's Mark Twain or not, but the issue is our worry into the future is thinking of things that may or may not happen, but by us worrying about them, we're almost like traumatizing ourselves with things that aren't really real in the moment. So the worries of the world are prolific, and this fallen world, really promotes fear rather than faith. So the worries of the world are everywhere. This one hit home to me, and I think it hit home to all of us in some ways. But one of the things of being a parent with young children is the worry or fear that an accident will happen or a disease will hit them and snuff out their life even before they had a chance to live it. And that was the battle that Jairus was dealing with when he came to Jesus. Okay, this account is in 3 of the 4 Gospels. The only Gospel it's not in is the Gospel of John. I will be mainly reading out of the Gospel of Mark. I've identified 6 interventions that Jesus made. 5 are front door, where it's clearly they're direct. 1 back door, which is indirect. And if you want to stop this right now and pause it and read Mark 5:21 through 43, you can. But I'm gonna be starting to read through it. I'm going to be stopping at the interventions that I see. Okay. When Jesus had crossed over again in the boat to the other side, a large crowd gathered around him, and so he stayed by the seashore. One of the synagogue's officials, named Jairus, came up, and on seeing him fell at his feet and implored him earnestly, saying, "My little child is at the point of death. Please come and lay your hands on her so that she will get well and live." Notice he came to Jesus with humility, but he also came to Jesus with the faith of believing that Jesus had the power to heal his daughter. Because he said, "Come lay your hands on her, and she will get well and live." One aspect of faith that he didn't have was he wasn't sure if Jesus was willing to go with him to heal his daughter. In the first intervention that I've noticed, Jesus makes the intervention without even saying a word, because it says, "And he went off with him, and a large crowd was following him and pressed in on him." So Jesus didn't even say a word. He just started walking with him. And his walking with him says clearly, "Yes, I'm willing. Let's go." The second intervention, I'm calling it a backdoor intervention because it's an event that happened in the presence of Jairus, but it wasn't necessarily directed toward him. But it was a powerful testimony that had to have encouraged him. So I'm going to start reading it now. "A woman who had a hemorrhage for 12 years and had endured much at the hands of many physicians, and had spent all that she had and was not helped at all, but rather had grown worse, after hearing about Jesus, she came up in the crowd behind him and touched his cloak. For she thought, 'If I just touch his garments, I will get well.' Immediately the flow of her blood was dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed of her affliction." All right. Jesus then turned to the woman and said, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your affliction." I mean, wow. I mean, he's fighting to hang on to the belief that Jesus was going to heal his daughter. In the middle of that, he sees a woman just reach out and touch Jesus, and she gets healed. And he hears Jesus say to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your affliction." The power of a testimony. Okay? And we're going to see here that testimony couldn't have come more at the right moment, because Jairus was about to get some bad news. I'm going to read now. "While he was still speaking, they came up from the house of the synagogue official, saying, 'Your daughter has died. Why trouble the teacher anymore?'" Okay? But Jesus, overhearing what was being spoken, said to the synagogue official, that's Jairus, "Do not be afraid any longer, only believe." And in the Luke's account says, "Do not be afraid any longer, only believe and she will be made well." This is the third intervention. It's a direct intervention, and it almost could be considered like Jesus making that his counseling goal for Jairus. The goal is, do not be afraid any longer, only believe and it will be made well. All right? That's the third intervention. Here's the fourth. Here's where Jesus is managing the milieu. Like being a spiritual bouncer. All right? I'll read it. And he allowed no one to accompany him except Peter, James, and John, the brother of James. Okay, so here, Jesus separated the crowd from Jairus, surrounded him with his most trusted followers, Peter, James, and John, and Jesus, and they then walked to the house. He's controlling the milieu, keeping an atmosphere of faith around Jairus. I'm going to read. And they came to the house of the synagogue official, and he saw a commotion, and people loudly weeping and wailing. And entering in, he said to them, this is his fifth intervention, "Why make a commotion and weep? The child has not died, but is asleep." Here Jesus is making a statement that this girl is as easily retrievable from her situation as it would be from waking her up from sleep. Okay? The people there, it says, they began to laugh at him. They were laughing at Jesus for making that statement because they knew that the girl was dead. Jesus was seeing the situation from the divine perspective, and they were seeing it from the natural. All right? Jesus is a spiritual bouncer again, controlling the atmosphere around Jairus. It says here, but putting them all out, he took along the child's father and mother and his own companions and entered the room where the child was. Okay, notice that he was purging the environment of all the unbelief, or the people looking at the situation from the natural instead of the spiritual. And the question of it is the goal for Jairus was, do not be afraid any longer, only believe and she will be made well. Well, Jairus met that goal because Jesus, taking the child by the hand, he said to her, "Little girl, I say to you, get up." Immediately, the girl got up and began to walk, for she was 12 years old. All of us can relate somehow to Jairus' struggle, because illness and death for a loved one is always at hand. It's either happening or anticipated to be happening, because sickness and disease is a part of this world. When we're facing a worry of the world like that, we need to remember what Jesus did for Jairus, he can do for us. Jesus gave Jairus a word. Yes, I'm willing to heal your daughter. He provided a powerful testimony to encourage him in his faith. He surrounded them with a strong spiritual team, and he removed the agents of unbelief and created an atmosphere of faith around him. And we saw a good example of someone standing in faith against the perception of the natural. And standing in faith with divine help and the help of other believers. So what are the areas in your life where you're working to stand in faith? I hope this video helped you and encouraged you to seek Jesus for the same type of help that he provided Jairus. I want to thank you, and I want to end by declaring this over us. Philippians 4:7. May the peace of God, which passes all comprehension, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. I want to thank you for joining me, and I hope you join me in video 8 when we start addressing Jesus ministering to someone with the dynamics of the worries, with the deceitfulness of riches. Thank you.